Hello bass family, and welcome to Everything Bass with Dale Titus. Today we're going to cover the dominant 7th arpeggio. So in previous units so far, we're going through the series, we've done all 4 triads: major, minor, diminished, augmented. We're now have covered in previous videos major 7 arpeggio, minor 7 arpeggio, and we're covering now today the dominant 7th arpeggio. As always, I always say this at the beginning: if you haven't watched the Understanding Intervals video series, there's 6 of them, but they're short. I go through and describe on each video 2 intervals, because you're going to hear me say things like minor 7, major 3rd, perfect 5th, and you'll have a better experience if you kind of are familiar with what those terms are. And I don't want to review them in this video because I want to focus just on the arpeggio. So pause this video, go and check those out, and come back. You might also find it helpful to go back and watch the major triad video, because that's part of this arpeggio. So let's get on to it. The dominant 7th arpeggio. Before I move any farther, if you are playing in a band that uses sheet music or charts, you're looking online and you see chord charts, dominant 7th chords are written usually with just the root, or always with the root, and then a 7 by them. So if you see a B flat with a 7 by it, that's a B flat dominant 7th chord. And we're going to learn the arpeggio for that chord. Now remember, the arpeggio is simply the notes of the chord played individually instead of all at once. So, dominant 7 arpeggio. Let's start with our friend, the C on the 3rd fret of the A string. So the dominant 7th arpeggios consists of a major triad. So you got root, major 3rd, perfect 5th. Now on top we put a minor 7. Now minor 7 is the same fret as the root, so here's the C on the 3rd fret, the minor 7 is the 3rd fret on the G, and that's the B flat. So let me tell you the notes: C, E, G, B flat, C, and that's the C dominant 7th arpeggio, 1 octave. Now what's nice about our instrument is, unless you do some kind of alternate tuning, if you tune it in standard fashion, then when we want to play the G dominant 7th arpeggio, or any arpeggio on the E string, it's the same shape. You're going to play like this, which would be the root, major 3rd, perfect 5th, minor 7th octave. Now compare this to the C. You'll notice I'm using the same fingers, I'm playing the same actions, because they're juxtaposed. I can just move them all around as long as there's no open strings. Now let's give you a couple memory triggers, things that kind of help you remember what makes this different than, say, the major 7 arpeggio. I've already covered the intervals: root, major 3rd, perfect 5th, minor 7th. We can look, if you use 1 finger per fret technique, that we have a middle finger, index finger, pinky, and then middle finger. In this case, we don't use the ring finger at all. So that's a dominant 7th arpeggio. Yeah, someone actually gave me another way to memorize it. It was a number system, but I'm sorry, it escapes me right now. But I always want your suggestions. I'm sorry that I forgot that one. I'll have to go back and watch the video or look at the comments and find it. But yeah, so you have this dominant 7 arpeggio. Now the pattern transfers all over, and that's how you should practice it. You don't play it off of any root. But when people start learning these closed patterns, they shy away from doing any of the patterns that have an open note, because that doesn't look the same. But I'm covering it because, you know, sometimes you're going to want to play an E dominant over an E dominant chord, and you want that low E. So you need to know how the arpeggio lays out with an open E. So when we have this open E, we can't play the major 3rd where it normally is found. So we're going to put the major 3rd, which is a G sharp, here. So we've got this E and then the 4th fret G sharp. Then we play the B on the 2nd fret of the A string, the open D, and the E. So the dominant arpeggio is open 4, 2, open 2, or root, major 3rd on the same string as the root, 5th, minor 7 octave. And that's the E dominant 7th arpeggio. If you listen to it, and then tell it's the same notes, just an octave higher than the open E. So those are the 2 real patterns you need to know. And you know, just so when you play the E like this, and then you want to play the A, just move everything down. Open A, 4th fret, open 2, open 2. That's the A dominant 7. Here's the E dominant 7. And of course the C dominant 7, G dominant 7. And as before, I've suggested every day try a new root. You know, maybe make a Monday of the week you're going to do F, and then you'll play all the scales you know in F. You play all the arpeggios you know in F, and then the next day do B flat and play all the scales and arpeggios in B flat. That you can incorporate as part of your warm up. You know, as long as you don't try to play too fast. But it really helps you not become a one-trick or two-trick pony. You're going to be able to play any of these arpeggios I'm showing you off of any root, which automatically makes you a more musical bass player and gives you a lot more freedom. So, dominant 7th arpeggio, there you have it. Based on a couple questions I've gotten, I've changed my encore item for this video to something that doesn't get talked a lot about, and that is tuners. Now, tuners come in a whole different many. I have on my pedal board, I have a pedal tuner that I plug into that I can at any point tune in between songs. It mutes my signal, that's really handy. But I do some gigs where I don't take my pedal board, and so a clip-on tuner like this is really helpful. Just clipping it on the headstock, turning it on, it actually hears by vibration. So you don't have to have anything coming out to the audience. You can just turn your bass down and tune up in between songs again. In my early days, tuners, when I first started playing, tuners were somewhat expensive and not readily available. Man, I'm really aging myself here. So, you know, I first learned how to tune by a tuning fork. Gosh, this is gonna make me sound so friggin' old. But yeah, a tuning fork, I'd hit the fork, put it on my bass, touch it on my bass, you could hear the pitch, I would tune my A to that, and then using the whole 5th fret open, 5th fret open, I would be able to tune that way. It's not as practical, it's a great skill to have, believe me, but it's not as practical when you're on stage or playing and you want to tune up between songs but you don't want to be heard tuning up. Then something like a clip-on tuner or a pedal tuner is definitely important. Just as you know, anyone who uses a tool, before they use the tool, like carpenter, before you use the tool, you set it up, make sure it's working properly. You want to definitely make sure your bass is right. It's embarrassing to go up and, even if it's just like an open mic night or something, and you're jumping up and you play and you haven't checked your tuning on your instrument and you're out of tune. It's just not a good it's not a good look. So taking a moment to tune up before you practice, to tune up before you perform, definitely. Anytime you're going to play the bass, tune it before you do anything. It's frustrating when the bass doesn't sound good, and you know, it can be just a couple cents off. It can just be a little bit off, and then you're like, oh, this sucks, and you throw the bass down and you kind of leave. It would all been remedied if you just get in the habit of tuning before you do anything. Tune before you practice, tune before you play, definitely tune before you record. If you get into that habit, you're just going to have a better experience, and you'll avoid some of these like embarrassing situations where you're the only one in the band who's not in tune or whatnot. Luckily, you can find tuners of all sorts everywhere. Heck, everywhere. Go to your local guitar shop, I guarantee you they have tuners. And they're so higher quality now. There's tuners on your phone, and I have one, and I've used it at times. But it's one of those that you have to play audibly for the phone to hear it, and that's good. And it's gotten me out of some situations where I forgot a tuner, and I could at least do that. But I would recommend either a pedal tuner or a clip-on tuner. Some tuner you can use, some tuners you can have an out on your amp can go to the tuner, and you can actually use it that way. But if the overall theme of this is just don't ever play a note without checking to see if your bass is in tune. You'll be glad you did. So that is it. Dominant 7th arpeggio. You've now added that to your database in your brain, and you've added it to your musicality. Get to know what it sounds like. Play each note. Play it over and over again, and get the feel for it. Get the sound of it, and you'll start recognizing it. You'll start recognizing dominant 7th chords as you hear them played in on recordings. And you'll be able to navigate them a little faster. It's no longer a mystery item. We've identified the dominant 7th arpeggio. And of course, tuners. Can't say enough about them. Make sure you have one. That's it. I really appreciate you coming by. Please, if you have a moment, just reach down and right down there. If you could hit the like button so this video can get a pile of likes, that always makes me happy. Even better if you can hit the subscribe button and the little bell icon right next to it. By subscribing to this video, you actually subscribe to the entire channel, and every time I post a video, you'll be notified about it. So if this is something you want to work into your lessons and your practice time and you want to add this to your development, please, please, please subscribe to the channel. It means so much to me. I get very happy when I see those subscription numbers climbing, and they're climbing. At the time of recording this video, the channel's been up for less than a month, and I already have over 100 subscribers, so that means so much to me. I thank you so much. All right, if you have any questions, again, comment or email. My email is dtitus@daletitus.com, and I will see you at the next video. I'm going to tune up.